Okay, in this video I'm going to talk a little more about Stacie. It's not only her crazy neighbors, their behaviors are crazy at times. Not only does she have to deal with them, but Stacie is kind of an active type woman. She's in her 50s, and she doesn't work outside the home. What she does is actually make videos, and she had been making videos for years on as anonymous and on Virtual County, because it's just for the county of Victorson County. And then they have another one that Stacie wasn't on, but recently they had opened it to everybody. It's called the Outlaws Online, and it's the rougher part of the county. It started off there, and basically two different towns far from one another really in the county. One is the southwest, and the other one is northeast. So they're kind of a little bit of rougher people, rougher. They should not have any kind of reputation to a whole town. Shouldn't have one, but we all know they do. Not everybody, of course, in any town behaves the same way, but they get the bad reputation too. So that's not a good thing. But anyway, she decided to join that too, and when it she always does her videos kind of anonymously, and then Virtual County, they changed it to where it has to be, and nobody can use their own name. She never did, and they had to show proof of who they were, go to like a grocery store and show proof who they were, because they kept having so many problems. So anybody that has an account has shown proof of who they are. The only people who would know who they are the people who work for like Virtual County and the other one, Outlaws Online, Outcast Online. I keep saying Outlaws, don't I? So she did that, and they keep it private. It was agreed upon with both of them that we're going to keep all the names private. Nobody's going to, out anybody unless it involves something illegal, something there's a crime or something like that. Then, and all the people who sign up for it have to agree to, there's an agreement for all this stuff. Anyway, so Stacie, she had been making videos under a pseudonym for years. So it was nothing new to her. She just kept her pseudonym. And but pretty much the same. Her voice was altered. She never showed herself on video, so no big deal to her. But she does, that's what she does, and she's done it for years, and she basically is a homemaker, and that plus being a homemaker. And her husband had started working from home in 2020, early 2020. So they've talked about, they had to wait and for a while, and then they talked about what were they going to do. Being stuck at home so much was just making them nuts, and they both wanted to start getting out. They didn't want to do too much. They wanted to wait till they felt safe, and they didn't want to go do too much inside places. But then it got to where they felt they really needed to do stuff like exercise. Okay. And they both knew they really needed to get out because things had been bothering them. Each one had something different. And Stacie's, as you know, if you've watched some videos about Stacie, hers was the way her neighbors were, some different neighbors were acting and behaving. And she, they had in the past, they had in the present. And she really had started paying more attention to it too. Before she was so busy with her life, she really didn't think much, but when it came down to it, when she wasn't so busy going and doing, and she started to see the behaviors, and she, of course, asked herself, am I being paranoid? I'd never noticed it before, but she realized, she just didn't before, and it was time for her too. So she had that, but she also had something else. Okay, now I'd say a year or so before 2020, Stacie had joined a rec center that was in the county that was basically for people over 50 and up, 50 and over. And she went by herself. Her husband didn't go with her. And she did, he was still working at, at the building, the actual physical building, where he, instead of working from home, he hadn't started working from home yet. And she needed to get out, so she joined that rec center. And the rec center had all kinds of things. They did all things for, like, it had its own little cafe, and they had all sorts of, like, workout equipment. They did dances. They went on trips. People that joined it and that wanted to do these things. They had healthcare. They had, you name it, for people 50 and older. And it's a very wealthy county, like I said. I've said in other videos, but not in this one. But yeah, it's a very very wealthy county for the most part. And so they kind of went all out for them. And there's so many different things. There's even places for them to, if they invite their grandchildren, yeah, I'd say their grandchildren, and they have picnics. They go on, some of them even go on horseback riding. It's in Texas, and that doesn't mean that everywhere in Texas you go horseback riding, because it's not true. Some of them, they actually have outdoor sports too. Bicycle trails, you name it, they had it. And like I said, these are for people age 50 and up. And sometimes, not always, they have, it's not a senior living community. It's a park and recreation place, rec center for it. And but sometimes they do have people that are, they show them how to do things like painting, or how to work out good, the right way for whatever age group, and various things like that. And in some of them, the enforcement, they call it the enforcement, it's basically a man named Jim. He used to work for the police department. He wanted his own academy kind of thing to teach people in any level of law enforcement. And over years, like decades, he did. He's like in his 60s now. And so they do some training out there. Many of the people in the county already have had training, so they do age-appropriate training for various things. Okay, like they even it grew and it got huge, and they have it in different places, and they do even help people go to attend university. Pay, they give them a stipend. Is it stipend or what? But to help them, as long as they do a little bit of work. They don't have to work for long, but it's like a mutual agreement. And for them, many of them that do, that's what they want to do, is to work for the Jim's enforcement, and they just call it the enforcement. And but they also train police officers, deputies, you name it, they teach them. Whatever, what is it, bodyguards, private investigators, you name it. We're so big, okay. So they also do training, so they do training there. And, the different ones for different ages. And the parks and everything, they rent, rent the areas or whatever they do. Anyway, so now, Stacie, like I said, she really wanted to get into all that. She was shocked, that they said age 50, and then when she goes there, she went there, she found that it was mainly people in their 70s and up. And, but she was kind of like, 50s, really? They just kind of combine everybody 50 and up all together. Yeah, so she was a little, she could join the regular one, but her husband's older than she, and she felt like that might be a better place for her. She wouldn't be, she had been to the other ones in the past before then, and one of them, and it was just too Yeah, it wasn't right for her. So anyway, it had so many things to benefit this rec center. So many things that, you know, that she just liked. They also did things like played bingo and games she didn't even know how to play, like canasta or whatever, all these bridge. She didn't know any of those. And they had, you know, regular old board games, and they also had Wi-Fi and so forth. But one day she went there, and there was this really rude volunteer there, and she complained about the volunteer, and they told her that other people had complained about the volunteer. They just didn't understand the volunteer's humor. Stacie was very offended to be, you know, blame the victim kind of thing. That's what they did, blame the victims. And that woman, you know, that woman that told her that, well, let me go on. And she was pretty much shocked because that's just not their way. It's not their way in the county. The county overall, very nice, decent people overall, but not always. So anyway, sorry, I tend to lose my voice anytime I come out here. And today the pollen is very high, is what they say, very high. So anyway, I'm outside in my SUV making this video, sitting in front of a shrub. So anyway, now that was before what they did was a lockdown. Now they had lockdowns because they were having trouble with people making threats and in the county toward people in the county, and that's when things started to change early in 2020. So many reasons they needed to lock down. There were threats. There were Captain Ross was finding out some information, you know, not long after that captain of investigations, and he didn't like it, and then so it had already started, but it kind of continued. But then they opened up and all this, so much background. But anyway, so this was before then, when she didn't like that, you know, being spoken to in such a manner. So she stopped going there. Well, then 2020 happened. She stopped going altogether. So, but after about 2.5 years, you know, of all that kind of thing, not really totally 2.5 years, maybe 2. She and her husband made plans to go there. Now, she had already been. He wanted to go for his first time. Because he, you know, being stuck inside so much, and you know, have some place to be around other people and to work out a little bit. And his doctor was suggesting it, hers suggested, so you know, so they but she was worried, you know. She said feels like sometimes she has Target written across her forehead, like the crazy neighbor behaviors, you know, the crazy behaviors of her neighbors, just saying weirdest stuff to her. But then they decided to go. Okay, eventually, finally, they decided they're going to go. They went, and one of the things she noticed was that it was like all new staff. Perhaps they all quit early 2020, and they were all replaced. But the staff was mainly younger people, some older people. You know, some of them are volunteers, and but generally all you know, there were younger people, and you know, like young adulthood, and she was surprised by that, but he was surprised. She already knew that the people were in their 70s and older. You know, for both of them, they felt like they were the young ones, and they were, basically, overall, the younger ones. Personally, I'm not sure why they don't split up, you know, put all people who are middle-aged and older all together. They lump them, well, like I said, not totally, you know, middle-aged starts before age 50, but not much before. But to just lump everybody there, I've studied developmental psychology, and I always wondered that myself since I started studying it. But anyway, they enjoyed it, but she's still worried. She's used to her life of just people, weirdest things happening to her, You know, people just overstepping their bounds and her bounds, you know, her boundaries, and just thinking they can treat her whatever they want to. You know, like the whole thing of blaming the victim, and no. And what she does, she makes videos about it, like her crazy neighbors. And like I said, for the county, the people in the county, they really don't like to watch stuff on the outside unless they have to, like on the weather, you know, that's from the outside. But much of what is on the radio there, the radio station is kind of like, think old-fashioned radio station where people listen to stories. They started that during 2020. People listened to stories on the radio, and they found they really liked it. But many of the people just watch their, you know, videos or read things on the 2 social media platforms in the county. That's all. They don't usually do anything from outside. They try to buy within the county, whatever it is, or listen to, read, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to say more about Stacie, just getting this part out. But let's see what happens to Stacie and her husband, and if anything changed. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.